And I remember one time going into our senior year, kids were finding out where they were graduating in their class. And I remember going and saying to my guidance counselor, "So where am I at?" And she just kind of looked at me and said, "You don't really want to know." You don't really want to know. And I think I was about 303 out of 309, if I remember correctly. And I think two of those below me were my friends. So coming out of high school, I was more in a vocational mindset, I guess, of teach me an occupation and let me go work somewhere. So college, I never took the SAT exam. I never saw algebra in high school. And I wound up actually at Gloucester County College by a pure coincidence. One of my best friends got recruited to run track and field because he was a good athlete at Overbrook, and his car happened to break down one day. And so he needed a ride, and so of course, being the friend, I took him there. So when I went there, I just kind of looked around and said, "Boy, this is pretty neat. What do you have to do to come here?" And my buddy, being about as intelligent as I am, says to me, he goes, "It's really great. You come here, the government gives you money, you take classes, and you hang out." So I said, "Well, heck, I can do that." And so then after Gloucester County, well, while I was at Gloucester County, that's where I just kind of started to get involved more with academics, and so all of a sudden I started to be able to recognize that, well, maybe I can do this work. And then I really started applying myself and just started falling into the science and the mathematics and things of that nature. And one thing just kind of led to another. And then ultimately, you have to leave Gloucester County at some point. And then came to at that time Glassboro State and enrolled as a biological science major, still with no real direction on what I was doing or where I was going. And that's kind of where Dick Marr comes in, because I think, as I've always said, I think Dick Marr saw something in me at that time that I didn't see in myself. I was going through these science courses and doing exceptionally well. I knew I was doing well because I had only gotten 1 C in all of college, and that was when I first started back in the community college. So I knew I was doing well, but I didn't know what I was doing well for. I didn't know what the ultimate plan was, what the ultimate goal was. For me, it was, boy, can I graduate college, really? and so so Dick Marr really played an instrumental role in helping kind of guide me, direct me, mold me, shape me, and push me in this direction. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell. One of the fortunate things I had was the relationship I developed with the previous president, Herman James. And Herman James at the time, as you know, was always very visible around campus and everywhere. And Herman became what I considered a very good friend at that time. And he actually, when I graduated from medical school, he came and he was the one that actually put my doctorate robe around me. So yeah, it was pretty neat. But Herman, when you were around him, his enthusiasm was contagious, because he had this vision, he had these dreams, he had these expectations per se, and he really worked hard to try to get us there. And so I remember talking to him right after the Rowan donation, and he actually had invited me over to Toe Hill for the auditorium that day for the actual press conference and news, and it was there, and that was really neat. But the other thing I did when I was in residency, I had set up a rotation of sports medicine with Chuck Whedon, the athletic trainer here. At that time, Arthur Bartolozzi was the orthopedic surgeon who was taking care of primarily all of Rowan's athletes, but nobody was really specifically tending to their foot and ankle needs. And I had developed a real good relationship with Chuck Whedon while I was a student here. And when I went into residency, I offered to Chuck, "Hey, can I come over and start seeing the kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays?" So every Tuesday and Thursday I had to drive back over from Philadelphia or Bryn Mawr or wherever I was and see the athletes. And so that's kind of helped also shape where I am today, because my practice is primarily all sports medicine. And so again, another thing that had its foundation and its roots right here. After Temple, I went to University of Pennsylvania at Presbyterian Hospital and did my internship. And then after that, I actually did 2 years of foot and ankle surgical residency in the Thomas Jefferson Health System. I then did an additional year of training in Atlanta, and then from Atlanta, that's how I wound up in Texas. I went to the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio and did a fellowship in diabetes and limb salvage, which was an extended year of training. And then I got recruited by a practice there to stay there, and there I've been ever since. There's another part of my life that I think that I've always been fortunate about, being in the right place at the right time. And I have been able to become partners with some guys that I have a great deal of respect for. And my two senior partners were were and have been the two team physicians for the San Antonio Spurs, the WNBA Silver Stars, and other professional teams and universities within San Antonio. So by me becoming a partner with them, those opportunities to take care of athletes on that level became available to me. The first time I'd ever heard of it, because believe it or not, on my internet that my wife will attest to that I look at each day, Rowan's actually a bookmark of mine. So I click on their webpage on a very regular basis and have been through pretty much everything on there. So I remember clicking on there one day and looking at the announcement of this agreement between Cooper and Rowan to form a medical school, and it nearly floored me, because to think that my undergraduate now could actually build an allopathic medical school was amazing. And so that's where I first heard about it. And then I kind of investigated a little bit more, and at that point, you know, rockets just go off and you start thinking to yourself, how exciting. Because again, we're just on the other side of the bridge and there's no major medical facility over here, but you go over the bridge and there's countless. There's 5 level 1 trauma centers, but there's nothing right here, and now that void will be filled. Originally, I had done a scholarship for John Giannini, which was John at the time, excuse me, John, I originally met John in what, 87, I think he came here from Illinois as the basketball coach. And see, and I've always been a big sports fan, so it was always encouraging to me, and I think that's how my relationship with Herman James blossomed, because Herman was a big sports fan. So at that time, I remember Herman saying to me, we need a good football team and we need a good basketball team, because that builds campus pride. And so that's when he brought on John Bunning, and then he hires John Giannini, who comes in and just doesn't just create a winning program, creates the best program in the entire country. And so John was somebody that I always, you know, I think there's another thing of surrounding yourself with good people, or doing the same things that successful people do. And one thing that I had always admired from John was he did exactly what he said. And not only did he continue to create a winning program, but he got his PhD. And he built real good life experiences and expectations for his players. And John's just a great guy. So when he got put into the Sports Hall of Fame here at Rowan, that's when my wife and I decided, well, let's start a scholarship in John's name. My wife and I's gift is a personal way of saying thank you to Dr. Marr, thank you to the university, and also it is meant to say that we have the overwhelming confidence in the direction and the leadership of the university. But the gift to me is also a stimulus. It is, for me, I know that there are 300 plus other people just like me that came here that had the ability to go on and have a professional life in medicine or allied health or some professional career that Dick Marr has his fingerprints on. And so for me, I just ask for all of them to think and reflect a little bit and think, gosh, would I be experiencing the same quality of life I have now if not for Dick Marr? And a way to now to be able to say thank you to that or to appreciate that is to endow a scholarship in his name. If I look in there in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, and the only thing that's in there is the money that we have pledged, that's going to be a big disappointment. That's going to be a really big disappointment for me. It's going to be a big disappointment towards all of those that have come and gone into medicine before and after me, and it'll be a big disappointment for me from the university. But I will tell you, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed.